Hello, thanks for joining me. This is a video reply to Pipes and Kayak, Brad, and it's in regard to his 300 subscriber giveaway contest. And I've been trying to make this video for a while, but it's required me to take a road trip. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not a movie watcher. I watch very few movies. And I watch and have ever watched very few monster movies or horror movies. So I'm at an extreme disadvantage to apparently the rest of you who have watched horror movies and monster movies. So I think I have to approach this from a different point of view, and hopefully this is okay with you, Brad. I got to thinking, well, what is it that makes a horror movie or a monster movie so successful? And it seems to me it's the fear, the being scared. And that got me to thinking about a story that I once heard. This is going back years and years ago, probably 20 or more years ago. And it was told to me by, at the time, my boss's boss. Didn't have a lot of direct contact with him. But we'll call him Stuart. And he was not Scottish, but we'll call him Stuart anyways. Stuart was an avid outdoorsman. He was a trout fisherman, and he probably could tell you every undercut bank, every deep pool in every trout stream in Wisconsin. Or if he couldn't tell you off the top of his head, he'd pull out his maps and he'd look at his handwritten notes on each map and be able to tell you. He was that detailed about it. So I tend to believe his story. We have to go back in time to about 1955, perhaps 1956. It had to be then because the bounty on the timber wolf still existed in Wisconsin. I believe it was $20 for an adult and $10 for a pup at the time. And so it was not uncommon for him to go into the woods with a firearm and a fishing fly rod. And on this particular occasion, he was prospecting some new waters in the middle part of Wisconsin. In fact, he was prospecting these waters in the central Wisconsin. This is the Big Roshikri Creek, which I think is the Crying Rocks, something to that effect. My French is not that good. And I'm sure Stu had traversed this stretch of the stream and at the time. It was a May day, as I recall. Around here we look forward to the mayfly hatches like other parts of the country. And those mayflies really get the fish, the trout, to feeding. So that night, or that late afternoon, because he intended to fish through sunset, the magic hour, when fish seem to become very active just before and just after sunset, at least trout. So Stu was exploring the stream, looking for those cutout banks, the pools, and looking for nice areas to fish. And I don't know about you, but have you ever had that sensation where Somebody's watching you. Something is watching you. I have. It's very, very infrequent, but it's kind of scary. And this happened to Stu. Something was telling him, hey, there's something out there. There's something watching me. And so Stu paid a little more attention, and he continued his exploration of the stream. And it became more than just a feeling that there was something there. He actually heard the twigs snapping and the brush rustling. Now this would have been in May, so if you can see the brush here, it's leafless, but come May, this is just a green impenetrable jungle. And so something was stalking him, never coming within visual range, but there for quite a while. And so it's at this point that Stu turns in the opposite direction and heads back downstream for a little while. And then why he decided to do this, I don't know, but he pretends to call to his friend John. John is not here. Stu is alone on this particular trip. But he calls out to John. He says, hey John, bring up the shotgun. I'm pretty sure there's a wolf following me. I'm going to take my pistol and I'm going to see if I can shoot it. And so with that proclamation, Stu hears something running off in the opposite direction. He turns and pursues for a little bit to try to give the appearance that he's going to actually track in and shoot whatever it was that was following him. So he did that for a very short time, turned, and then headed back down the stream and got into his car as quickly as he could. So that's the story. Nothing would have come of it except for a year, perhaps 2 years later. A hardware store owner goes missing on the opening day of deer season in Wisconsin, November 1957. I think it was the 16th. Bernice Warden apparently never opens the store. About 9:30 in the morning, somebody in the neighborhood saw the delivery vehicle leaving the business and never returned that day. Bernice's son, a sheriff's deputy, began to investigate and question and look through the day's receipts and the of what was there. And there was a handwritten receipt for 1 gallon of antifreeze to Eddie Gein. And so begins the story of Ed Gein. This property, as the crow flies, is roughly 2 miles from the Gein farm, perhaps 3 miles from the actual Gein house building that was there. So, what makes you scared? To me, it's not the monsters on the television screen or the movie screen. It's the monsters that walk among us that scare the hell out of me. So let me finish this pipe and we'll take a walk in the direction of the Gein property. See you in a bit. Alright, fly rod is stowed, pipe is almost gone, waders are packed away. And sidearm is loaded. Let's do this. Since we're here, I'll give you a parting images of the stream. It may be my last visit to the stream. We shall see. Well, I've never seen the movie, but I know the reference to the creature from the Black Lagoon. Tell you what, this is the marsh, the unforgiving marsh, I guess. Looking for a better term than that, but can't find it at the moment. Hopefully I can get my way out of here. God, can you imagine coming through here at night? What a nightmare that would be. Literally, nightmare. So, what creatures lurk in the deepest, darkest recesses of this place? God only knows. But I tell you what, Ed Gein is a legend that just will not go away. Norman Bates, Leatherface, Jamie Gumb, Buffalo Bill, I guess, Hannibal Lecter, the cannibal. All aspects of Eddie Gein. And a hush falls over the lagoon. We'll see if they'll wake back up. Anyway, who said spring peepers were dumb? Little frogs know I'm here. Alright, heading out. And then, what about the movies about Ed Gein? The Ed Gein story. In the, what is it? In the light of the moon? God, I'm glad it's the light of the day. In the light of the sun right now. Holy cow. Deranged. The Ed Gein story. I don't know. And the documentaries. Holy cow. His legend will never die, it seems. 60, 65 years later. Everybody seems to know his name. It's like Norm from Cheers. By the way, I love Gore-Tex. You know, the only good thing about this muck, ticks sink in the water. Nothing quite so pungent as the partially decayed vegetative matter in this wet area. And maybe there are more things that are more pungent. Ick. So, as we come out of the woods, across the street, and on this corner, is the southern edge of an L-shaped property that was the former farm of the Geins. George and Augusta Gein came to this remote area of the town of Plainfield and purchased a 155-acre farm in far western Waushara County. So rather than walk this perimeter of 155 acres, because it's posted everywhere, no trespassing, let's find the car and take a drive. Okay, we pick up the video from where we left off while walking. An access road there. This area of the property has been left wild. It's pretty much a marshy tributary stream to the Rocha Creek. So if you're thinking about the creature from the Black Lagoon, that's pretty much what this area is. All right, we're going to take a turn onto 2nd Avenue. And now we're heading north for roughly a half of a mile. Now these red pines are where the agricultural fields used to be on this property. They were planted into red pine. A little bit of oak there coming in. Looks like they harvested some of the pines. And we got some aspen coming in here as well in this harvested area. And then up, we're nearing the corner where the home site used to be. This driveway is coming up here. I think it's gated. Yeah, it's still gated. But that would have been where the home and the farm buildings were. They were ultimately burned like 2 or 3 days before they were due to be auctioned. And then the property runs west for about 3/4 of a mile. So we'll pick up the speed here a little bit. But the source of the fire was never found out. But at the time, there were rumors that somebody was going to purchase the house and turn it into a tourist attraction, the Ghoul's house. And there was probably legitimate fear that that would happen because there were numerous occasions where college students would come down from the university and actually have house parties in the Ghoul's house. So there was some sort of always has been an attraction, but as you can see, everything is gone today. There are no remnants of the farm. It's been planted over into trees. The 155 acres itself has been split into 3 separate parcels and is owned by 3 different people, or 3 different parties anyways. And all that remains is the legend. So we're coming up on the western edge of the property here, and then we'll take this turn and we'll go for about another 1/4 mile, and that'll be the end of the L-shaped property, the Green Farm. So in its day, it would have looked more like that. A large expanse of flat, sandy soil. And as we come up on this little stream crossing here, we're nearing the edge of the property. So there you go, what became the Ed Gein Farm. Well, Brad, this is where my tour ends and my story ends. Obviously, the story of Ed Gein is much greater, and I leave it to you to sort out the sensational from the mere fact. Here, George Gein, father, died of heart failure after a long period of alcoholism. The elder son, Henry, who, in hindsight, appears to have died under suspicious circumstances. Burning marsh grass with Edward. He dies of asphyxiation in that marsh fire. Mother, Augusta Gein, succumbs to complications following her second stroke after the death of Henry. And here, in the void, is Edward. His tombstone stolen in about 2000 and recovered about a year later in the Seattle area. As far as I know, his tombstone now resides with the Waushara County Sheriff's Department. At least that was the story that was told to me a number of years ago by a dispatcher. And perhaps you can take some comfort in knowing that this limb of the Gein family tree is dead. The gene pool a dead end, as no descendants exist. So Brad, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm not quite sure I did. Certainly, congratulations on your almost 400 subs now. And may you never, ever have to walk with the monsters. Take care.